I'm over here, guys. There we go. This is where the magic happens. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, beloved ones. Those of you who are here with us, I can feel your vibrations. Thank you for being with us this morning. And as always, those of you who are streaming live, the vibrations of the internet, we greet you. We're grateful for your participation as well. I feel a deep sense of gratitude this morning, so I want to start off maybe just giving some thanksgiving to our wonderful AV staff that is so dedicated. Yes. To our lovely volunteers who are here, signing people in, ushering, still carrying on a good work. I thank you. I acknowledge you. I bless you. And as always, we give thanks for our Richard Payne trio, for the wonderful music that they bring. Yes. So how's everybody doing this morning? Good, excellent, great. Yes. I'm hoping that everyone is doing better and better. There was a congregant years ago who I loved, and some of you may remember Joseph Daniel Clipper. He's the one who did the portrait. And he used to say, when you would say to Joe, "How you doing, Clipper?" And he'd say, "Oh, every day and in every way, I'm getting gooder and gooder." Gooder and gooder. Better and better. And if not, I pray that you can at least say, you know what? I'm better than yesterday. And hopefully you'll be able to even affirm, and I know and pray and hold to the truth that I will be even better tomorrow. Because we all want to be in a state of improving, growing, evolving, unfolding into greater and greater expressions. Greater truth. That's what we're seeking and wanting us to experience. But we all have to also recognize we still have a great work to do. We have a lot of work to do, whether it's collectively as well as individually. There's still work to be done. While we are improving and growing and unfolding, there is yet more work to be done, right? Because that's the way life moves and progresses. As we continue to take the next step, the next level, to grow into it, to stand into it. And even though we know that we have work to do on the collective level, because we can see the world is in need of some transformation, some growth, some healing. But we know that it all also begins within. It starts with us. Everything starts with us. The world will be healed when we are healed. Because we are the world, right? Individually, we make up the collective. So the world will be healed when we are healed. Last week, I spoke about healing the wounded heart. And I know that all of us have probably at some point in time in our lives, we've had some measure of pain or fear or grief, and we've had to try to move through it in this journey called life. And this is what I know. Nobody gets out of this experience, this thing called life, without having some measure of pain or stress or fear, grief, right? We get to experience all of that. We don't get out of here without having touched that to some degree on some level of life. Whether it's disappointment or being hurt. We've all had these moments. So it's not whether or not we're going to experience pain or difficulty in life, but it's more how are we going to move through the experience, through that experience, right? How are we going to move through those experiences, because they can be deep. We can be deeply hurt, or as we talked last week, wounded in the sense of that deep feeling, right? So these things can be deep, and they can be long-lasting if they are unaddressed, unacknowledged, unattended to, right? So we know that still waters run deep, that these things can be buried. Some of us have things that we remember when we were 5 years old that hurt our little feelings, and yet we've kept it in the heart and mind for so long. So the idea, let's look at this idea of, let's take pain for a moment. People often think of pain or associate pain with some physiological expression, some sensation that we might feel, in the body. However, we also know that pain is more than a physiological response or feeling, that it has a biological or physical expression, but pain also can have an emotional as well as a psychological expression as well, right? We know that, right? So these three things, these three levels can intertwine and affect one another. We know that we can experience pain on a physical level, we can experience it on a psychological level, and we can experience it on an emotional level. And the key is that they can all these different levels intertwine and affect one another at various points in time. So if we're going to heal, we might want to be able to delve deeply to get a clearer sense of how are these three components, these three levels of pain per se, how are they relating to each other and affecting each other if we want to really tap into a pathway for healing, if we really want to move towards greater and deeper healing. So the question I might ask you is, are you in pain? If I were to ask you that question, you'd say, well, what do you mean? Physically, well, I woke up this morning and I had a pain in my left toe. Isn't that funny about pain with physiology? I think when you get older, I'm having to uncover that I could wake up in the morning and just have a pain in my toe and don't know where it came from. I don't know how it happened. Or you might get up and you just say, wow, my elbow. I know I didn't hit my elbow, but you have some kind of physical pain or malady. And it's really kind of funny. So, I'm watching myself as I move through this wonderful experience of growing and transforming. Some people call it aging, but I'd like to call it growing and transforming. But as I move through that process, I'm uncovering wow, I went to golf the other day and I hadn't really been golfing, but I only golfed one other time during the start of the season. This is my second time, And so my mother was like, well, are you in pain? Because usually when I come home from golfing, I have to take a lot of aspirins and lay down and go to bed. I take a shower and go to bed. But I had a great time, but it's like, woo! But that's okay. So we have those experiences of perhaps physical pain. But think about this. There are some people who experience chronic pain. When I look at my sweet and beloved mother, she has, arthritis. And my father had very deep arthritis. And my grandmother had arthritis, the kind that really, is with them all the time. And it's very painful. I put some Salon Pas and trying to do the things that can ease that. But some people have chronic pain and they live with chronic pain. But think about it. They may have a physical malady of pain, chronic pain, but they can also experience some emotional pain as a result of the physical pain, which means that if someone has to live, I laugh and saying I get up and I have a pain in my toe or something, but I'm talking about people that have ongoing and consistent pain throughout the physical body, right, or the emotional body, but they have that, and because of that, they can experience then, because of the physical pain, they can now experience emotional pain like anger, or they can become depressed, or they feel a sense of sadness or hopelessness. Will this thing ever, end, or will this go away, or will this be my permanent condition, or how can I make the pain stop? We're blessed to be here, but I've served people and seen people who are experiencing chronic pain, and when they say to me that, wow, it's so deep that they would rather be released and free from it. They'd rather move on and, go to the next level of living because the pain is too unbearable. I've not had that experience, but I've witnessed it. And when they're in that state, it transfers, the physical pain transfers to a more deeply emotional and psychological pain. They might become depressed as a result of a physical condition, right? And likewise, the reverse can also happen. People who experience lots of emotional and psychological pain can end up with that emotional and psychological pain now showing itself in a physical way, which means it has found its place in the body, right? And so it could show up as maybe an ulcer or some kind of heart condition or high blood pressure. So it's a matter of, we have a tendency to look at the outer, right? We've got a physical malady, but unless we understand that there may also be a psychological or an emotional root or cause, that we then are able to take some aspirin. You know, if you have a chronic headache or if you have a chronic this and you take some physical thing to get rid of it, you may, but if the root cause of it is not physical, the root cause of it is either emotional or psychological, and you don't heal that, you'll just continue to take what? The aspirins and whatever the outer things. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but unless we really, if we want to get into healing, because we are spirit, soul, and body, right? We have a spiritual nature, we've got a mental or psychological component, we have a psyche, and we also have a physical being, and all of them work together. And the same thing with our healing. So on all these different levels, if I'm just treating or working with my physical healing, but yet the root cause is emotional, then I'm not really going to heal on this physical level. Or likewise, if I'm having, emotional, in need of emotional healing, but it could be the result that my physical needs to be tended to. So we see that there's an interaction, and while we can see physical expressions, it's this origin. What is the origin or the source or the cause? I won't say the source because I like to use source when I'm talking about God. But what is the origin of your discomfort, your pain? Is it emotional, physical? And it may be all of them, but then how are they working together, right? And so we may need healing, may need to have or require a deeper looking into these root causes. We need to dive deep into the pain or the discomfort or the stress to figure out where it may be coming up, because Lord knows it could be coming from any one of those places and shows up in various ways. We're all familiar, hopefully, we've heard probably this saying that says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is what? Optional. It's a choice, yeah. They say pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And we think, oh no, my suffering's not optional. It's the result of my pain. No, pain is the result of the pain. Suffering is optional. So we are going to experience pain in this lifetime, whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological. At some point, we all have this opportunity. But this notion of suffering being optional, I find very intriguing. There's an explanation for that phrase that I like. It says, pain is the feeling of unpleasant sensations or emotions. Suffering is the struggle, denial, worry, regret, indignation, complaining, and self-pity wrapped around the pain. Right? So that's a difference. And it says, to let go of suffering, you must first allow and accept the pain. So suffering then is all this, the worry, the hurt, that's wrapped around the pain. The pain is what it is. It is what it is. It could be a physical thing or can it be an emotional thing? But it's usually what we do with the result of that pain, right? The worry, the indignation, the suffering, or blah, 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 blah. I like to say that suffering is the story that we tell about the pain. Because usually if we're into suffering, there's some kind of story we're telling about the pain, right? And And even if you're under the chronic pain, you still have a choice as to how you want to approach it. It may still feel bad. It may still, take its toll on your physical being. But the suffering is still optional, the choice in which you want to approach it. What's the story behind it? Because if we could somehow get behind the story, get underneath the story of my worry. If I'm worrying, well, what's behind the worry? Right? Or if I have anxiety, what's behind or underneath the anxiety? Or if I'm in denial of a situation and I'm suffering because I'm in denial, because suffering is worry, denial, indignation, self-pity, complaining. Those are the result of that's inner suffering. It's not necessarily the pain. So if I could get to what's underneath, what's behind my suffering, what is behind my worry, and tap that. Maybe it's I think that, I won't be taken care of in the future. Or what's behind these things, my stress or my denial of a situation. I don't really want to face this. So if you can get there, then you can tap the places where your healing can begin. Because again, if I'm healing a situation of a physical malady that has been produced by a psychological malady, and I don't deal with the psychology of it, I'm just going to constantly keep triggering and treating, right, my pain. If I have a headache, if I get these stress, headaches all the time, and I keep taking aspirin and Tylenol and ibuprofen or whatever it is to keep buffing it up and strengthening the pill that I'm taking for the headache, but I never get to behind what's causing the headache, then I'm constantly going to be in a situation of treating a symptom, treating an outer expression. I'm not underneath what is causing the stress of the headaches, right? So we as truth, we try to get underneath, get behind that so that healing can take place. You got to heal the root cause. Not just the outer symptom. We heal the root cause, right? And so we want to delve deeply because you want to delve into deeper truths because there's some deeper truth behind whatever is manifesting in our lives, be it physical, mental, emotional. There's some deeper truth that is lying behind what has manifested. So I have to deal with the manifestation. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to take me an aspirin. When I finish golfing, I take my little Advil and go take my shower and go to bed. But so I'm not saying don't do that. But if it's something that is chronic and something that is returning, you want to heal, and you want to heal from it, you've got to get to the root cause and not stay on that surface level or that excuse. Go deep. Go deep. Because deeper truths will bring deeper healing. Deeper truth will bring deeper healing on all those three levels that I mentioned, and it will help you to unravel the places where those levels are interacting and affecting one another. So you will know, yes, I'm having a physical reaction, but it's really triggered by an emotional response. Or I have a psychological and emotional reaction, but it's triggering a physical response. Knowing what is taking place within you is key to your healing, right? Remember, pain is what happens to us, but suffering is what we do with the pain. What are you doing with it? We have a choice. We have a choice. And so we want to look at what is underneath and behind. Let's listen to this story about healing of the man who lay by the pool of Bethesda. And this is a man who had a condition. And he had this condition for 38 years. And for 38 years, he lay by this pool of Bethesda, wanting and hoping and waiting to be healed. And this is in John 5, verses 1 through 6. And I'm reading from the NIV, the New King James. It says, after this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there in Jerusalem by the sheep gate, a pool, which in Hebrew is called Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well by whatever disease he had. Now, a certain man was there who had an infirmity for 38 years. When Jesus saw him there, lying there, and he knew that he already had been in that condition a long time. So I like this because Jesus as the Christ, he knew what was going on, right? He knew that he had been in that condition a long time. And he said to him, do you want to be made well? Certain versions ask, he says, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be made well? The sick man answered him, sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said to him, rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made well, and he took up his bed and walked. Wow. Then Jesus, of course, got in trouble because he did that on the Sabbath, but that's a whole nother story. See, that's what people focus on the wrong thing. Instead of the Pharisees focusing on the fact that this man was healed and immediately was healed, they're getting all upset because Jesus healed them on the Sabbath. I tell you, boy, I love people. Oh, we are so funny. But that's a powerful story, right? And I want us to look at it metaphysically. I was going to write my own metaphysical interpretation, but I said, let me read what the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary says about that, okay? So bear with me, because sometimes, I just love that I have a metaphysical mind. I like to go underneath. I want to get behind so I can get the real meaning of how this can be applied to me and my life. Because I've been the man at the pool of Bethesda, right? I have laid around in my infirmity. I have made my excuses as to why I couldn't be healed. I've lingered in my condition, maybe not 38 years, but that's symbolic meaning a long time. I've told my story, right, of why this is happening to me and why I can't move through it. So I said, all right, let's look and see what's going on metaphysically and spiritually. And so we have to understand Bethesda metaphysically means house of mercy, or it means house of loving kindness, house of healing. So this pool we have within us this place, this pool, because the pool of Bethesda lies within us. That's how we see something metaphysically. It's either taking place within us or it lies within us. It represents something. So Bethesda, this pool by Bethesda, is this healing place that lies within us, right? And it's a place of loving kindness and a place of healing. So then it says here, it's a pool in Jerusalem by the sheep gate. That's how it opened up. It says there was a sheep gate by a pool in Bethesda. So there's a sheep gate, and it had 5 porches, which sheltered constantly a multitude of sick folk who expected to receive benefit from the healing virtue that was believed to exist in the waters at these pools at certain time periods, right? Now, what I like is it starts off as the sheep gate. So when I do metaphysical study, I get triggered by a particular word and I go on. So I notice it starts with sheep. Sheep metaphysically represent pure, obedient, innocent, loving thoughts that we have in consciousness. We also have the opposite of those thoughts. You have the goat thoughts. Right? And there's a scripture that says we got to learn how to separate the sheep from what? From the goats. And the goats are not the greatest of all time. The goats are those stubborn thoughts that just link, that they're not open and receptive to the truth within us. They cause us to struggle and to fight and to resist and to resent. Some of these things that I talked about, worry and doubt, and all of those are goat thoughts. But this pool, this place of healing, is a place by where the sheep is a place of openness, receptivity, and willingness to allow the Spirit to bring us life, to bring us healing and wholeness, right? So we start off with that. Then it says, for Bethesda, the point in consciousness where we feel the flow of the cleansing life of spirit. Water is so powerful because it can be a source of purification, a source of cleansing, but it also is a place that represents the subconscious, the deep, because, we see the surface points. If you go to the ocean, there's so much more to the ocean than what we can see with the eye on the top. It's deep. Still waters run what? Deep. So water also carries this sense of this deepness, this maybe even this subconscious energy. But it also carries cleansing and purification and truth and life, because you can't have life without what? Water. So this pool, this water represents this place of life. And if it's by Bethesda, there's a healing stream within us. There's a life force within us. And so it says this pool represents the point in consciousness where we feel the flow of the cleansing life of spirit. This pool or place in consciousness is formed by the realization that our life is being constantly purified, healed, and made new by the activity of the mind. Everything, you weren't the same as you were when you came into this place 10, 15 minutes ago. We are constantly being purified, cleansed, healed, transformed. And believe it or not, every situation we find ourselves in can be used as a healing situation. Right? A revelation to bring us some truth, some insight. So what this is saying, this pool is this place in consciousness. It's a pool of living water, living truth, right? That is always available to us, churning and presenting itself to us, flowing to us. We are always being given divine ideas and the flow of spirit and the substance of spirit. But sometimes we don't catch it because we're lying on the side of the pool in our condition, saying, I can't get into this place of healing because this is what happened to me. I don't have anybody to help me move into a new state of being because this occurred in my life, right? So we missed the point then. So it says physically, so I want to read that again. The pool is a place in consciousness is formed by the realization that our life is being constantly purified. Sometimes what's happening when people, places, and things move you to a new place, you're being healed. You're being purified. You're being cleansed, right? You're being made new by the activity of the mind. Physically, this is expressed in the purification and upbuilding wrought in the blood when it comes in contact with oxygen in the lungs. And so, Mr. Philbin put that in here, and I thought, well, what does that got to do with anything? But we're talking purification. So the moment we breathe, water is the breath, water is life, but also the breath is life, right? And so what this is saying is whenever we take a breath in here, which is also the spirit, isn't the breath the filling of the spirit, right? When you take in this physical breath, it goes in and it purifies, it goes into the lungs, which then sends out purified oxygen to the rest of the body. So if you got a wound or you got a boo-boo or you got a sore, that the more we breathe in purified air, it goes in and oxygen helps to heal that place, which is why deep breathing, when we're meditating, when we're in a spiritual state, we say, take some deep cleansing breaths, take deep healing breaths, because the breath literally and physically will heal the body as well as heal your mind and calm and soothe your spirit and your consciousness. When you're upset, we say, take some deep breaths. Sit down. Okay, you need to sit down, connect, take some deep breaths, healing breath, right? So that's the same thing that's happening. This water, the breath is purifying and healing. Water is purifying and healing of this pool. And that's what's happening. It goes to each part of the body. He then says, the ebb and flow of the waters of the pool are constantly going on, And when mind is active, all the depleted blood corpuscles are purified and renewed, which means there's the living waters. When you're breathing, when you're in this state of consciousness, connecting to the living waters of truth, the living waters of spirit, it's constantly flowing. There's an ebb and a flow. We're never without it. But when we take the time to receive it, then we can begin to heal and to take those places in us that are depleted and worn out and tired and run down. You bring new what? New life, new energy. So we have to then make sure that we're in this consciousness of Bethesda, a house of healing, a consciousness of healing, so we get revived, new thoughts. This is why, we take time to come apart. Jesus said, come apart for a while. All of ye that are heavy laden and burdened, come apart, and I will give you rest. So we have to come apart for a while to renew in consciousness and to examine where we are in our thoughts. So then it says, sheep represent the natural, innocent expression of spiritual life, and the sheep gate is the channel through which this life force flows into the organism. So we got pure, beautiful thoughts that will allow us to, God thoughts, good thoughts, high thoughts, exalted thoughts, that allow us to receive a different consciousness, a different awareness, right? Not just a low vibration, but a higher vibration. Then it says the 5 porches, this place, this pool, had 5 porches that you could probably enter into this pool. And he says here the 5 porches represent the 5 sense limitation, which means the 5 porches are the 5 places of your senses, which are what? Sight, taste, hearing, sight, all of that, the 5 sensation, which sometimes, we enter into life through our sensation, through our senses, thinking that that's the only reality that there is, right? This is important because it says the porches are filled with you enter into it. Let me read it again. The 5 porches represent the 5 sense limitations. Why would they be a limitation? Because they don't allow us to necessarily go to that 5th or 6th sense, that 6th level of understanding life. The porches are filled with the multitude of those who are sick, blind, halt, and withered, or with unregenerate thoughts. Meaning, these people were lying around. There was a multitude of people lying around in these porches, all trying to get into the pool or just lying there in their condition. Lying in their 5 senses, right? Sometimes we get quite comfortable in our 5 senses, in what we see. Right? Well, I can't do much because this is what happened to me. This is my reality, right? And he said that there was a multitude of sick people who were blind, and some of it says paralyzed. When we have erroneous thinking, we can be paralyzed from moving, right? When we look at the world and we say, oh my gosh, and I tell you, I have to work at this. Because when I look out here, I'm like, God, what is happening to this world? What is happening to people? Where are the good people? Where are the godly people? Because I'm looking at all this nonsense. But when I recognize, when I do that, what does that do? It pulls my spirit down, right? And so I recognize I'm looking at it with my literal eyes, and not with the eye of spirit that says, judge not by the realm of appearances, but judge ye by righteous judgment. See correctly. Don't see the limitation. That may be out there, but that's not all there is. There's something else that is going on. And we've got to remember, I have to remember the something else. Don't get hung up in that condition, what I'm seeing here, and saying that this is the only reality that there is. Because if you understand, when we say, oh my gosh, you could go shopping and look at the food, the shelves in the food market, and it's empty. And we can say, oh my God, there is no food. And we can get caught up because we see, and fearful. What's going to happen? They tell us right now they're planting the seed. There's going to be food shortages and gas shortages and this kind of shortage. And when I look around, I see it and I feel, oh my goodness. But there is no shortage in God. We can produce. You see, when you understand how you create through the spiritual realm, you can create just like Jesus created and fed a multitude with what? 2 fish, 5 loaves, or either 5 loaves and 2 fish, whichever way it was. He fed a multitude of people with that quote-unquote limited visual resource. Because he understood. So what I'm saying this morning is that we're going to another level. Healing and wholeness has to take place on a different level. So don't be, fearful of what's happening. We have to be mindful of it. We see it. But we also know as light bearers and truth students, we have to get back to the truth so we don't linger and languish in what we're seeing happening here. Right? So it says, so these porches, these were filled with the multitude of people who were blind, who were sick, blind, halt, withered, with unregenerate thoughts. When we allow ourselves to have these unregenerate thoughts, a generate thought is a thought that's creative, that is spiritually based, that can produce. It's generating. That's a generative thought. It's a thought of life. Life is generative, right? But these people were lying around in the pool with unregenerative thoughts. Low vibration, low thoughts, thoughts of lack, thoughts of limitation, fear, gripped with fear, paralyzed with thinking, this is my condition. What can I do? What's happening, right? He says, that's living in that condition. Then it says, when the water is troubled, remember, there was a statement that said there was a time, a period when the angel came down and stirred up the waters, right? So when the water is troubled, typifies the dependence of the unawakened man or woman upon certain slow, natural healing processes, which he calls the work of nature. Now, I want to read this again. When the water is troubled, it typifies the dependence of the unawakened man or woman upon the slow, natural healing processes, which he calls the work of nature, which means healing is always, taking place in nature, in life. There is a process. We can take the pills. We can do all of that. But then he says, at this stage of man's unfoldment, the multitude of weak, sick, infirm thoughts and conditions within him have not received the swift healing power of spiritual I am. Now, what he's saying here is that you could do it the hard way or you could do it the easy way. You could sit and you could wait for some outer condition to change until the angel comes and stirs up the water at a particular time, and then you can see if you can get into the pool. You could do that, but that's why they had multitudes of people lying around, because it was only the first person who got in. Or you could do it by listening to and responding to that spiritual I am. Because Jesus, when the man said, well, I can't do it because I'm not in, and people get it, he just said, pick up your bed and walk. There was a word that the instant that man recognized, you don't have to wait for these outer conditions to change. And I'm guilty of that sometimes too. I'll say, well, when things get like this, then I'll be able to do that. You see, that's depending upon the man-made world, the carnal world. When things change, well, things may not change in the outer. It's when I change in the inner that my outer will change. So this is like, stop waiting for these conditions to change. You have within you the ability and the power to speak a creative word, to speak a spiritual word, and have your word be done. Jesus said, well, do you want to be healed? And the man, I can't do it. He said, pick up your bed, rise, get up and walk. And it says, immediately the man was healed. And he did what? He picked up his bed and he walked. So this is so powerful for me because it's reminding me, don't worry about the conditions. Even as true students, we want to get into the conditions. No. We have to acknowledge the conditions, fine. But the conditions are not the source. The conditions are not your permanent state of being. It may be a manifestation, but get behind the manifestation, right? We as a church community, we're having like everybody else, but not to that degree. But we may be hitting some bumpy little roads. But I'm saying we've got to stay the course and understand God is the source. And that we are going to be all right. We got to stick to the principles and to the truth that we know. And that means to encourage you to fear not. Because when you start closing down, you start hoarding, you start trying to say, no, you prepare for a rainy day, you're going to have a rainy day. Keep the flow of what you know open. Keep your channels open, keep your faith open, keep your spiritual eyes open. Everything else might be telling you, shut it down. Be safe. No. Open up. Let spirit move. And this takes a little courage, friends. Right? But this world is not going to be for the faint-hearted anymore. You're going to have to come right or you're going to, fall by the wayside like everybody else. So it says, the healing of the man at the pool represents the I am, typified by Jesus, to restore the equilibrium of the organization through the activity of spiritual ideas and consciousness, independent of the healing methods utilized by the sense man. Meaning, don't be waiting for just the waters to stir. That's the condition. You're waiting to get right. Do it now. You got it in you now. The true spiritual healing method, listen, the true spiritual healing method is the word of authority as spoken by Jesus, which must be set into activity, which is why he said, get up. He stirred something into what? Action, activity. Get up. And certain versions of it say, stand up. Pick up your bedroll. Get up. Certain say, rise up. Meaning there's an action. Begin to lift up your vibration from this low place. Lift it up and get moving. Put it into action. And so this true spiritual healing method, we're not waiting for conditions to change. We're going to change the conditions when we change our consciousness, right? So he says the true healing method is the word of authority as spoken by Jesus, which must be set into activity. Through the power of the word, the infirmity gives place to perfect equalization and strength. So it's like, wow, it's the power of the word, my word. A word of truth. We have been studying these teachings and these principles, and we have to remember to use them, to stand on them. And this is calling for us to really understand, to take our rightful place as light bearers, truth seekers, truth speakers, truth healers, right? To wield the weapon of truth and to practice it for ourselves, because it's so easy to get thrown off course. It's so easy when we're surrounded by others, naysayers, and people who may not just simply know, who are in fear because they're like, they see stuff is going on. They're wondering what in the world is going on. And if we're not conscious, if we're not connected, we can fall into that vibration too. And so they're going to be looking, we're the ones that people are looking for. So we have to remember, check out your consciousness. Where you coming from? Are you coming from fear? Are you coming from doubt? Because out here, the bank account, the pocketbook looks empty. Okay, that's just an appearance. What do you know about substance? What do you know about God? What do you know about the truth? God is able to fill that empty wallet, that empty basket, that need, heal that condition. God is able, so we have to get back to that truth. And I love it. It's through the authority of the word. Speak your word. Powerful. And connect your words to a spiritual awareness. Connect it, because this is what we want to do when we want to be able to really affirm and know. We've got to move ourselves with a deeper truth. A deeper truth. This out here is a small t truth. It's an appearance that looks true. The deeper truth is the one that's going to free us. So this is the time for us, friends, to shine our light, the light of truth, on all those deep places within us. I'm using this opportunity. I think that's what the Spirit has given us for these 2.5 years, to kind of go within, to stop everything. Look, check out where you are, what needs to be healed, what needs to be revealed in you. So I'm really trying to do my inner work. I'm taking this, mindfulness program, and it's like, be mindful. Where's that thought coming? What are you feeling? What's happening? Be aware, so that I can understand from a deep place what's going on within my own being. And when we can take this truth, this light of truth, into the deep places of who we are, then what happens, we can then be free from our suffering that comes from here. So I ask you, do you want to be healed? Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to be, and to be healed is simply to be whole and well. I want to be able to say, it is well with my soul. I don't want to suffer. I might have pain, because that's going to be inevitable. There are going to be situations that hurt me. There'll be things that come up, but the suffering, that's on me. I want to be free. I want to be whole. I want to be held. So, pick up the bed. I'm going to pick up, which means get up, rise up, stand up in consciousness. To do all those things. And when you can do that in consciousness, you move beyond the places of your comfortable condition. Because sometimes we get comfortable in our condition. We get comfortable in our maladies and in our circumstances and in our situations. It's familiar. Yeah, I'm paralyzed, but this is what I know. I like it like this. But we're going to move beyond the condition to rising up in consciousness. That is the way for healing. And know this, that the deeper you delve within this place of truth, the higher you will rise into wholeness. The higher you will rise into your oneness with God. So I say to all of you, if you want to be healed, pick up your bed and not just walk, not just run. Let's fly. We need to fly, right? May it be well with all of you. Love you, bless you. I send you nothing but well wishes for your health, your wholeness, and your healing. Take care. Be blessed. Namaste. Well, namaste. Namaste. Oh, thank you. And can I tell you, it's good. First I was like, oh, people are coming back. I don't know. I'm so glad to see you all here. Thank you. Because I realize your presence gives me energy. It brings me life. It's like, woo! I love it. And I still feel those souls and spirits who are with us as well. I honor you, but it's also good to be in the house. Blessings. Miss Tia Wortham. Let's give Tia some love.
Right back at you.
Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in knowing that we are born to
So much, Tia. Let's take a moment just to kind of tap in. Yes. I see I didn't turn off my phone, so someone's calling me. I hear you, Spirit. It's someone who doesn't know me. Because if they know me, they know where I would be on a Sunday morning. So it's probably some spam or whatever, robocall. But I've answered the call this morning. And you answered the call to be present to the living Spirit of truth. To come apart for a while and to focus on the truth that sets you free. These spiritual principles. So let's just breathe for a moment. Breathe in this gift of life. The energy of the divine that is flavored with life in the body as it moves through your nostrils, into your lungs, and out to every area, bringing healing, wholeness, blessings. We breathe deeply so that we can feel an opening in the conscious awareness. For as within, so without. We breathe the breath of life that brings healing on every level. And we allow ourselves to rest in this healing vibration. So that we can be free from any suffering, any lingering in the stories of lack and limitation, the stories of unworthiness, victimhood. We release those. We stand in this deeper truth of who we really are. The Christ of God, the Son and daughter of God, the divine and holy one, able to meet and overcome any and every manner of dis-ease and condition of limitation. So just allow yourself to offer your strong inner yes as you answer the question that Spirit is posing. Do you want to be healed? In your heart of hearts, voice your yes. 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 Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you for the good, for the presence, for the knowledge and wisdom and truth and understanding that my healing is present here and now. I need not wait for my conditions to change. I am changing my consciousness. And I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just take a deep, deep, deep breath, slow and easy. Savor the breath. And so it is. Amen and amen. And so I leave you, beloved ones, with our affirmation for this morning or for this week. And it says this: I touch into my deeper truths and bring the light of truth to heal my soul. I grow stronger day by day. Praise the good, and so it is. Amen. Let's affirm this now together. I touch into my deeper truths and bring the light of truth to heal my soul. I grow stronger day by day. Praise the good, and so it is. Amen and amen. Beloved ones, we know this to be the truth, that we are growing stronger and stronger. We are so grateful for each of you, for sharing and shining your light, for sharing and shining your light with the world, and especially with this wonderful community that is Unity of Washington, D.C. It is because of you that we can still be here as a beacon of light when so many places have closed and are not able to continue on. We are strong and shining brightly for the world who seeks and leads our light, leads our truth. And so we're grateful and thankful. Our blessing this morning says this: it is divine love through me that blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Let's affirm this together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we thank you, beloved ones. You are the reason we're here. We thank you for your gifts, for your treasures. Yeah, give yourself some love and some here. Yes, to each of you, I thank you. I thank you. God is the source, but we are the channel through which the blessings flow. Remember that always. God is your source. You are the vessel and the channel through which blessings flow. We're so grateful and thankful. Let's all now stand as we sing our closing wonderful song. I believe it'll be You Light Up My Life, perhaps? Yes.
Somebody say,
There's